Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mark, this is Spiguyver Backpacking, and today we're going to put the finishing touches on a video that we started last week while we were out on the Eagle Rock Loop Trail, and that is the comparison of the three hammocks that a lot of people keep asking me to do the comparison on. That is the Dream Hammock Sparrow, the Dutchware Gear Chameleon, and the Warbonnet Blackbird XLC. So let's go. So last weekend, Beekeeper, Chris, and I got out for 3 nights out on the Eagle Rock Loop in Arkansas. And while we were out there, we decided to switch hammocks each night, and that way we could get a little bit of comparison, see how each one of them liked the different hammocks, what they liked and disliked about each one. Now, before we went out, I decided I wanted to make it about as even as I could, the playing field there. And so I went with, since the Warbonnet Blackbird XLC has the shelf that a lot of people like, and Dutch has come out with the new SIDECAR, I wanted to go ahead and put that on there. On the Sparrow, I had the RIDGELINE organizer and also 2 peak bags. Now, after this, we're going to be doing some changes there. So that's what we kind of started with. That was our starting point. Wanted to make them all about the same. Since the weather was a little bit chilly for that weekend, we went with top covers on all of them. So no bug net, just top covers. And so that was the setup. That was what we went with. So let's hear, actually first, let's take a look at the weights on all the different hammocks. And then we'll get into what everyone thought about them. So I had my cup of coffee, and now we're just sitting out here talking about hammocks a little bit. So one of the cool things we did on this trip was, because there's 3 of us, we had 3 nights, I brought the 3 hammocks people wanted to know the most about, kept asking for the comparisons, and so rather than doing just a head-to-head with me talking about what I thought about each hammock, I decided the 3 of us would each lay in each hammock, spend 1 night in each hammock, and then we could talk about how they thought they stacked up on comfort, and on options, on what's going on, what they can do with their hammocks. So let's see how that goes. Morning, Chris.
Morning, sir.
So what is this that you're sleeping in tonight?
This is the Dream Hammock Sparrow that I slept in tonight.
All right, so this was the 3rd night. So you slept in the Chameleon the 1st night, the Blackbird, Blackbird 2nd night, and this one the 3rd night. So tell me about comfort-wise, how do they rank?
Comfort-wise, I'm going to put the Dream Hammock first. It definitely had the best lay. Then the Chameleon for me, and then the Warbonnet 3rd. I slept good in all 3 of them, but there was definitely differences in each, and that's how I'd rank them in terms of comfort.
Okay. So what about options? Options, accessories, that type of stuff?
As far as that, I think the Chameleon probably wins in that one. There's just so many things that you can add onto them. I personally own one, and so I know a little more about what is available for them, and I think that wins there. I kind of liked how everything was set up. I did like the Warbonnet as well. I feel some of the stuff on it was a little unnecessary with the shelves on both sides and everything, but I did like that pull-out shelf. And then the Dream Hammock just has the peak shelf up here, and we've got our own little RIDGELINE organizer, but it has everything you need. You know, I mean, that's all just extra stuff. It doesn't detract from the hammock itself, but probably the Chameleon, then the Warbonnet, then the Dream in terms of options.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So I'm here with Beekeeper, and he's got the Warbonnet Blackbird XLC that he's in. So the first night you were in the Sparrow, then the second night in the Chameleon, and then this one. So how do you rank them?
I'm going to go with the Sparrow was the most comfortable, which is kind of weird. That was the easiest day, and then the Chameleon came in second. Blackbird came in third, and which is kind of weird. That was after the toughest day. So it was. I figured that I wouldn't have noticed anything, but I was actually had to work to get a comfortable lay in Blackbird. So it was different. I do like the shelf. Was neat because it wasn't as cavernous as the sidecar for the Chameleon, at least on the option portion of it. And at the same time, I'm used to just throwing on my crap down near my feet anyway, so regardless, that hasn't been a bit too big of a deal for me. I do like the Sparrow though, and I think with a different ridgeline organizer would be a go-to.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
So for me, the results are pretty much the same as everybody else. The Sparrow does lay a little bit flatter. I think it's that shortened ridgeline and it being a little bit wider. I tried to get comparable features on all of these hammocks to come out here so that we weren't having big discrepancies with the options that really made us like one better than the other. So I put the sidecar on the Chameleon, and that kind of matches with the shelf on the Warbonnet Blackbird XLC. What we did find is we liked the shelf on the Blackbird a little bit better than the sidecar because it is tough to get down all the way down into the sidecar while you're laying there. I think a little bit shallower and maybe a little bit wider sidecar would be a little bit better than what Dutch is currently offering, which is this one, which is huge. I mean, it is deep. It's probably, I don't know, 18, 20 inches deep. And so it's hard to reach in there and get to the bottom of that. You know, if you've got clothes, they kind of just float in there, but if you've got anything heavy, it just goes straight to the bottom, so you've got to reach all the way down in there. So that's the one thing I would change about that. For comfort for me, I think it's a pretty close, first and second are really close. I think I sleep a little bit better in the Sparrow than I do in the Chameleon, but not by much. I'm just about as flat in both of them. The lay is very similar. It's a distant third to that Warbonnet though. I know there are a lot of fans out there, a lot of people that wanted me to do this because they're huge fans of the Warbonnet Blackbird. I don't know if it's a difference between the Blackbird and the Blackbird XLC because the people that I know of, most of them have the original Blackbird. I was excited to get the XLC because of all the hype behind the Warbonnet brand and the Blackbird itself. But for me, I don't lay all that well in it. And of the 3 nights, that was my worst night of sleep, was in that one. The other 2, I slept great. Now, it is true that was the first night out, which I always sleep a little bit worse in, and we hadn't done any big exertion, so there's that. But for me, I think either the Chameleon or the Sparrow, depending on the night, could flip-flop between first and second, just given the accessories that are available with the Chameleon, everything that Dutch makes that can be clipped on. However, I think that if we were to get with Randy, he may be able to do something on the Sparrow that could come in close and help out with evening the options there. So it's all on what you like. If you're a Dream Hammock guy, go with the Sparrow. If you're a Dutch guy, go with the Chameleon. If you're a Warbonnet guy, go with the XLC. But that's the thing, go with what works for you. Don't listen to what I'm telling you. Don't listen to what Beekeeper and Chris are telling you. Go with what works for you. Get the thing that's gonna be best. If you can get out to a group hang, go lay in a bunch of different hammocks and see which one works for you. We're just giving you our opinions, and that's all they are, our opinions. Thanks, guys. The last night that we spent in these hammocks, all of them had the top covers on, and it got down to about 28 degrees. Our water bottles and everything else had a little bit of ice in them. Luckily, we had brought our filters in so that they didn't freeze. What we did notice was that all three, with the top covers on, ended up with condensation inside. So it didn't matter how big the vent was or where the vent was. For example, on the Warbonnet, you have both the vent by your head and the foot end, which is a little bit higher, that's vented. You have the larger, longer vent on the Chameleon over your head, and you have the one that's up just quite a ways overhead on the Dream Hammock. And all three of them ended up with the same thing: condensation inside, condensation on the top quilt. And so they all performed exactly the same in that respect. So there you go, guys. After the trip, everyone kind of had the same sort of feelings about it. Does that mean I've given up on the Warbonnet Blackbird XLC? No, not yet. I'm gonna get out and get a couple more trips with that thing, just to give it a little bit more of a chance to see if it grows on me. I haven't slept horribly in it, but it definitely is not one of those that you just get in and you find the sweet spot, like the Sparrow. I mean, the Sparrow is one of those, the first night I slept in it was just an awesome night of sleep. The Chameleon is super consistent every time I get in it, whether it's hung a little bit low, a little bit high, a little bit loose, a little bit tight. It's always a consistent lay. Now with the Warbonnet, it is a very specific, the foot end has to be a significant amount higher than the head end in order to really find that sweet spot. And so that may be part of what led to Chris and Beekeeper not having such great nights in it. I did try and coach them and try and get it set up correctly, but hey, each person's gonna have to find their own thing. And really another confusing thing for me on that Warbonnet was I really expected the Blackbird XLC to work best for Mike because he's so much taller than both Chris and I, but that wasn't the case either. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you guys got something out of this comparison. I really did try to even the playing field as much as possible, but one of the things I will say is the shelf and the sidecar really gave a lot of storage that the Sparrow was lacking, and that was noted in both of the video, or both of the talks, both with Chris and with Beekeeper. And so one of the things I'm doing is I actually talked with Randy, and I'm going to have a peak shelf up overhead on the head end put in my Sparrow. So I'm going to be sending it back, and so Papa Smurf said they could do that, so it's going back to Dream Hammock. They're going to get that done for me, and so that will even the storage on the three hammocks a little bit better. Again, I'm going to try and get out there some more with the XLC, and of course I've got another big video coming up with a lot of the different features of the Chameleon. So a lot more to come. This isn't over. We'll keep trying out these different hammocks, and I'll let you guys know how I think long term on all of them. But anyway, thank you for joining me today. I do appreciate it. If you have any comments, any questions, something that wasn't covered, go ahead and leave those down below, or find me on my Facebook page. The link for that is down below as well. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys down the trail.